Hello everyone and welcome to the One Stop Co-op Shop. This is Colin and today I have a treat for you, or really it's a treat for me that I'm hoping to share with you. And that is we're going to do a playthrough of The Lord of the Rings, the card game. I am just in love with this game right now. I think I've played it 15 or 16 times in the amount of a 2-week span. And for me, who's always playing new games, that's a ton of times of playing the same game. And that's because I really like it. It's so fun. It is incredibly thematic. I don't even care how old the game is. I just really enjoy deck building, and it's so much more fun to me to deck build cooperatively, especially with my wife. So my wife and I are having a blast with this game. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do the first quest in the Lost Realm series. That is called Intruders in Chetwood. Now, if you don't want any spoilers, you may not want to watch this because it is going to show you some of the cards, but I am also reading the story here. I'm going to put a link down below to tell you where to jump to if you don't want to hear the story, or if you just want to jump right into gameplay and how to set up. But the best part about this game, what I like so much about it, is how thematic it is. And so I really recommend, if you're okay with it, listening to the story and then seeing how the game plays out, and you'll understand why certain things are happening. That's part of what's so cool about it. So in this video, all we're going to do is learn how to set up the game, and we're going to set it up specifically for this Chetwood quest, and then I'll read you guys the story so you understand what's happening within the world at this time, and then I'll just give you guys a brief overview of the two decks that I'm going to be using. One deck is going to be an Ent deck, and that's Ent deck is the one that I have built. The second deck is one that Steve actually created. I don't know if it really has a name, but it's used to complement the Ent deck. And yeah, I really wanted to do this playthrough with Steve, but just the fact that he's in a different state than I am, we decided that's not going to work. But instead, what I can do is play his deck along with mine, and then that can kind of be us playing together. So without further ado, let's jump in. Let's start with the story. Make sure to sit yourself back, maybe grab a pipe, since, hey, that's what they did in these stories, and listen and enjoy. I'll see you in a bit. Intruders in Chetwood. The house of Elrond was bustling with preparations. Fall was turning the leaves on the trees of Rivendell to flaming colors, and the valley echoed with the singing of merry voices. The elves were gathering the last of the summer harvest to celebrate the autumnal equinox. All were busy except the master of the house and his guests, a band of weary travelers who had recently arrived from important errands in Gondor and Dunland. The heroes were very tired from a journey of many leagues fraught with peril, and Elrond had welcomed them to rest in his home and tell what they could of their adventures. In the Hall of Fire, Elrond spoke with the heroes at length concerning their service to the White Council. Many great deeds they had done to forestall the growing power of Mordor, and for their acts of valor, Elrond made them honored guests and bid them to stay until they were all refreshed. While they spoke with the Elf Lord, a messenger entered the hall to announce another traveler newly come to Rivendell. Behind him stood a tall man of proud bearing. He wore the weather-stained garb of a ranger. From the man's appearance, it was clear that his errand was urgent. "Mie Gofanon Dunedain," said Elrond. "The sons of Landir are welcome in Imladris." The ranger placed his hand over a hawk pendant he wore on a chain around his neck and bowed. "My lord," he spoke, "my name is Earion, and I have ridden here in haste to seek my kinsman Aragorn. There is evil afoot in the untamed lands north of Bree, and we rangers have need of our chieftain." "The son of Arathorn is not here," answered Elrond, gesturing for the ranger to sit in the empty chair next to him. He continued, "But tell me more of your errand. Long have the Dunedain kept the villages of Bree safe with the secret vigil, yet seldom have they sought for aid in that thankless task. What evil drives you here now?" The ranger took the seat that was offered to him before explaining. "Orcs have been discovered west of the Weather Hills in greater numbers than we have seen them in many years. They are spying out the land, and we believe they plan to attack." "Alas, Aragorn is far afield with my sons and the warriors of my house," replied Elrond. "Until they return, I have no one to send to your aid." Earion looked downcast, but mastered himself before speaking. "Then I must return at once to my kinsmen and help them prepare as best I may." "I will tell your chieftain of the threat to his people as soon as he returns," said the Elf Lord. The ranger stood up, bowed to Elrond, and turned to leave. But the heroes who were sitting there rose to their feet and stepped forward. "We will come with you," spoke one, and the rest nodded in agreement. "I thank you, strangers," replied Iarion, "but as Master Elrond said, our deeds are secret and thankless. We Dunedain receive no reward for our sacrifice, and neither do we have any to offer." "Hunting orcs has its own reward," said the heroes evenly, and continued. "We will not sit idle here while you and your folk fight this battle, not while we have strength left. We will come." "Then let us ride swiftly to the aid of my people," said Iarion, with fresh hope in his eyes. "May the favor of the valor be upon each of you in this task," spoke Elrond in farewell. Together the ranger and the heroes bade farewell to the last homely house. They rode west from the valley of Rivendell toward the villages of Breeland. They followed the old road over the last bridge all the way to the southern end of the Weathered Hills. There they turned aside to climb Weathertop, the tallest of the hills. Its summit commanded a great view of the surrounding area, and Iarion told his companions there would be rangers keeping vigil here. From then, the Dunedain hoped to learn some more news before pressing on. When they reached the top, they found two Dunedain who greeted them. "Ho, Iarion, I see you have brought others to help, but I fear it may be too late." One of them said grimly, "A large number of orcs descended from the hills last night. A war party, it seems to us, but moving warily and avoiding the road. We watched them creep north and west along the edge of the marsh until they disappeared beyond the fens." "It is likely that they mean to come upon the villages of Breeland from the north," replied Arion, looking in the direction of the rangers indicated. "Our people in Chetwood must be warned. One of you take my horse and ride with haste to do so. My companions and I will follow the orcs and do what we can do to delay them." Turning to the heroes, Iarion laid his hand on the pommel of his sword as he addressed them. "There are many lonely homesteads north of Bree. We must do what we can to track these orcs and safeguard these people. Come!" I hope you guys enjoyed the story. What we're going to do now is kind of talk about each of the two decks that we're going to be using. Now, if you don't want to see this and you just prefer to jump right into how you set up the game, I'll put another link in the description below to tell you where to go, okay? But if you want to see these decks, the cards that we're using, hang out here and I can show you it. So here we have the three heroes for the Ent deck. So first of all, we have Quick Beam right here, and he's an Ent himself. And look at that, 4 attack. That's a lot. And he's got 5 health. Now, the thing about him is, first of all, he is an Ent, but you cannot put restricted attachments on him. So you're going to see that most of my deck will not have restricted attachments. Also, he has an action where you can deal 2 damage to him, and then he can ready himself. So that would mean he could defend and then attack, which is great. Biffer over here is simply used for resource management, since I do have a tactics and 2 lore heroes. In case I need some more lore to be able to spend, I can potentially spend, so what his ability is as an action, pay 1 resource from a hero's resource pool to add 1 resource to Biffer's resource pool. That means that we can pay 1 from the tactics area here and turn it into a lore, which is great, because a lot of the traps that are coming in the Ent deck are lore traps. We have Barivor here pulling up the rear, and she is awesome. As long as we don't have to use her for questing or defending, we can just use her and exhaust her to draw 2 cards, and it can be anybody. So we could allow Steve to draw, or we could draw. Finally, if you look at the threat of each one of our heroes, we've got 10, 7, and 12. That means we're only at a total of 29 threat, and that's not bad. Don't forget, if ever you get to 50 threat, you are eliminated. And if both players get to 50 threat, you lose the game. So 29, not bad. Many of the allies that we have in our deck are going to be Ents, and here's 3 examples of ones. Now you can see this little icon right here means that they are unique characters. And so if I have Treebeard out, I cannot place another Treebeard card out, and nobody else that I'm playing with can. So although I might have 3 of these in my deck, which I do, if I happen to draw a Treebeard when I already have a Treebeard out, you can't use it. So you gotta be careful with how many uniques you have in your deck. But since Treebeard is so important and I want to be able to draw him because my deck is 50 cards, I do have 3 copies of him in my deck. His ability is amazing. He cannot have restricted attachments, and he does come into play exhausted. So the first round, he can't do anything. But after that, he's a 2/4/3 with 5 health, and at the beginning of each resource phase, he gains a resource as well. So normally heroes are the only ones that generate resources. Nah, Treebeard can generate a resource, and that can be used to pay for any Ent card. And that's Ent either as an ally or Ent as an event or an attachment card. It's awesome. So yeah, that's why I have Treebeard here. Both of these, they have nice abilities. They don't cost a ton. And once we get Treebeard out, we'll be generating 4 resources around, and so they're easier to grab. But both of these are unique, so I've got to watch out for that. Here are my 3 non-unique Ents. Booming Ent wants other Ents to be just slightly damaged because they get stronger for each one of your Ents that are damaged. Darren Dingle Warrior, I love that name. He can really do well against orcs, and we are going to be fighting orcs, so this is going to be great. And then the Welling Hall Preserver, he can heal other Ents. Here are some of our events and attachments we're going to use. First, we have the Entmoot. That's going to allow us to draw 5 cards, and any of the cards that have Ent in the name, we get to keep in our hand. Yeah, I'm running 3 of those. And then we have our Ent Drought, which gives +2 hit points. That's going to be really helpful and really important. We put that on Quick Beam so that we can use his ability without killing him. Because remember, we can ready him, which is great so he can defend and attack, but then when you do that, he takes 2 points of damage. So more health is good. And then we want to throw on this self-preservation because we can exhaust this and heal the 2 damage that he puts on himself each round. So yeah, this is a nice little combo. Finally, we do have a couple different types of traps that we can put out into the staging area and hopefully trap some of our enemies. We also have, and I love this, the Long Defeat. Whenever we complete a quest that we've placed this card on, we get to either draw 2 cards or heal 5 damage between all of our characters. That is really nice. And then finally, we have this secret vigil over here so that we can reduce threat. It's just simply providing us with some threat reduction in case we get into any issues with our threat. While the Ent deck was a little bit more about attacking, Steve's deck here is a little bit more about questing. Eowyn here is pretty awesome because her willpower is 4, and how you do questing is you have to have more willpower than threat in the staging area. So 4 is quite a lot. She also has this awesome ability where you can, after we draw all the cards for the encounter phase, she can then have each player potentially discard a card to add additional willpower to her. So it's really helpful to be able to make sure you get just enough willpower to place progress on your quests. Legolas here, conversely, is ranged. So Legolas can attack and even help the Ents if the Ents have too many enemies to manage. Baragon over here is a 4/4 to help as a defender, and he can also help us with threat reduction as well. We only have a total of 28 for our starting threat, so that's great. You'll see here that some of the allies, like the Rider of Rohan, once we start getting side quests completed, which the Lost Realm started to introduce side quests, so once we start completing those side quests, we don't have to exhaust him to have him go questing, which is great, so we can get the 2 for his willpower and use his 2 attack. These Outriders are awesome because they can place progress on location cards that are sitting in the staging area. Helps you clean those up, especially because there's a lot of locations in this specific quest. And finally over here, the Defenders of Ramas. Yeah, 4 armor, just great for soaking some damage. Talking about getting rid of locations in the staging area, the Northern Tracker is one of the best because when he commits to a quest, you can place 1 progress token on each location in the staging area. Now, this Elven Light in Eowyn is phenomenal because this Elven Light, it says here, you can return this as an action from your hand, or to your hand, from your discard pile to draw 1 card. So what you do is you discard this for Eowyn's ability to get +1 willpower. Then you take an action to put this back in your hand and you draw a card. Finally, a Test of Will is just amazing. Canceling a when revealed effect. Yeah, I'm running 3 of those. I'm also running 3 Rivendell Blades because putting those on Legolas, Legolas gets a -2 on the armor when attacking, and he can attack ranged. And so that has been an amazing ability to get rid of most of the enemy's armor, hits right for their health, takes them out. This raven-winged helm also can prevent additional damage, so we can throw that on Baragond and help him to survive against harder attacks. And then you might as well throw this unexpected courage on Baragond so he can defend multiple times. Finally, we just have some good staples here. We've got Feint, which requires an enemy not to attack. Great. Always a great thing, because then you don't have to exhaust to have someone defend. We have over here the Galadriel's Greeting, and that can reduce everybody's threat. And finally, we have the Raiment of War. Now, this counts as a restricted, actually it's 2 restricted cards. So that would mean that that hero, whoever obtains this, cannot have any more restricted items, but its ability gives them +1 attack and +1 shield and +2 hit points. That's awesome. So now that we have read the story, we have looked at our decks to make sure we understand our synergies and what we're good at and what we're maybe not so good at. Now we can do the setup. You'll first want to make sure you shuffle your decks up. Now, each deck needs to have 50 cards if you want to play at a tournament level. And I'm going to show you that, and that's the way I kind of like to play. So I'm going to play with 50 cards in each deck. Next, you want to set up your beginning threat amount. So we look up here and we add the threat of each of our heroes. 10, 9, and 9. That makes 28 for Steve's deck. If ever that threat gets to 50, this player is eliminated from the game. Looking at the Ent deck heroes, we have 10, 7, and 12. That makes a total of 29 for our threat. Next, you want to determine who the first player is going to be, and we might as well make our Ent deck the first player. Now we get to draw our starting hand. Now what's fun about this game is you do get to take 1 mulligan if you want. That means we're going to draw 6 cards. If we don't like what we see, we can shuffle the deck back up and draw 6 more. Oh, there's Gandalf. 4, 5, and we have Treebeard. And 6. Ooh, so we've got lots of healing. We've got Treebeard, and we have a Gandalf, but we've got a lot of expensive cards. As much as I like this hand, I think I might mulligan it because I don't have anything to help Quick Beam become a little bit stronger. So I think I'll just shuffle these back in and let's give it a redraw. Here we go. Take 2. We have the Long Defeat. Yes, I love that one. Oh, we have our Warden of Healing. That will be perfect. We have our Booming Ent. We have our Wellinghall Preserver. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 more. Yes, a Treebeard. And we have our Ent Drought. Perfect. This will go right onto Quick Beam as soon as we can. Now we'll move to Steve's deck. We'll draw 6. So we have, the Tides of Fate. That's a great card. It's a great response card. The Raiment of War. Defenders of Ramus. Oh, yes, this is a great card to have at the beginning. Elven Light. And we have the Galadriel's Greeting. And 1 more. Unexpected Courage. Yeah, I'm keeping this whole hand. This is great. Now we can set up our quest. Rangers have sighted a large group of orcs making its way towards Breeland. The Dunedain Ierion has asked you to help him intercept the war party before it can reach the quiet village. The orcs are a day ahead of you and moving fast, but there is hope you can catch them with the Rangers' tracking skills. So this quest card shows you the different encounter decks that you're going to use. You're going to use all 4 of these decks to create your encounter deck. We also have a setup requirement. Put Ierion into play. Add 1 orc war party to the staging area. Each player then adds 1 different location to the staging area. Shuffle the encounter deck. First of all, we have Ierion here. He has willpower, attack, and defense equal to X, and X is the number of quest cards in play. So the more quest cards there are, the stronger he's going to be. He also has a response effect. After a side quest is revealed from the encounter deck, you can ready him. If ever he leaves play, though, we lose the game, so we cannot let Ierion die. Also, the first player will gain control of Ierion. So since our Ent deck is going to be first player, we'll control Ierion for the first round. We're also going to have to put this Orc War Party into play. And look at this. Ow! 6 for attack. That's not good. Up here on the top, we have what's called their engagement number. If ever our threat is equal to or greater than their engagement level, they're going to try and engage us during the engagement phase. So you got to look at this engagement number and see if your actual threat is below it. So right now we're at 28 and 29. We're not enough of a threat to this Orc War Party. They're just going to leave us alone, and this would stay out in the staging area. The Orc War Party cannot have attachments, which means we can't use our traps on them, which is a bummer. And then while Orc War Party is in play in the staging area, enemies in the staging area cannot take damage. And we cannot win while this is out in play. So we have to defeat this in order to win. For this quest, here are the 5 different locations we can potentially go to. We need to pick 2 of these and place them out into the staging area. Why that's important is if you look up here, this tells us how much threat that location will provide in the staging area. And that means that whenever we try and quest, we have to get higher than whatever threat is in the staging area. We already have 3 threat due to the Orc War Party, so we are placing 2 more of these out there, and they're going to increase the threat in the staging area. So personally, what I think I'm going to do is grab the Rugged Country and the Shrouded Hills. The reason being that the Rugged Country, if the current quest is a side quest, and it's not, then this Rugged Country gets +2 threat. Well, we're not going to be doing a side quest right now. So this one, great. It's only 2 more threat in the staging area. And then the other one here, the Shrouded Hills, what it does is it has X threat, where X is the number of quest cards in play. We only have 1 quest, the beginning quest, or the main quest that's in play, so that threat's only 1. Now we'll take these 3 and shuffle them up with the remaining encounter cards. We've completed the setup for Into the Chetwood. Now we flip it to side B. You must move swiftly to prevent the orcs from reaching Breeland. So now we have some specific rules for this quest. First of all, enemies do not make engagement checks. Cool. So what that means is normally, remember how I was saying that if our threat was higher than the engagement cost of this Orc War Party, 40, so let's say our threat was 42, this Orc War Party would try and engage us. But because of this scenario, because they're trying to run away from us, they will not engage us. They won't make those engagement checks. We're going to have to optionally engage them, otherwise they're going to overwhelm us. We see here that it says at the end of the refresh phase, raise each player's threat by 1 for each enemy in the staging area. So we've got to make sure we don't leave too many enemies out in the staging area, or our threat's going to go up too high. We also have a note here that the players cannot defeat this stage unless the first player controls Earion. If the players defeat this stage, they win the game. So this one, there's only 1 quest card. Sometimes there might be a 1, a 2, 3, maybe even 4. So what we need to do is we need to obtain 30 progress on this quest, defeat this Orc War Party, and make sure Earion is not dead, captured, or anything else. He's just with the first player. If we can do that, we win the game. That, my friends, is the setup for Lord of the Rings. I know this was a little bit longer of a video, but I really wanted to show you guys the fun of generating and creating your deck, and then taking that deck and going on a quest. Let's go and catch those orcs. I'll see you at the next stop.